Hello, Internet. My name is Craig.
And I'm Chris.
This is the Craig and Chris Show, where we talk about everything that interests us and hopefully interests some of you. What are we talking about today, Chris?
I believe we're covering GTA Online.
Yes, we are. GTA Online. A lot of people talking about it right now.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Not all positive.
Not all positive at all.
Not all necessarily untrue.
Afraid not.
Afraid not. Right
Yeah.
now. So what we're going to start this out with is actually sharing our personal story with GTA 5 Online. And who would you like to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
I'll go first. Okay. So I went into it with a little bit realistic perspective. I work with technology for a living. So I pretty much expected when 1 billion people bought the game that the online just wouldn't work. Okay, so I really wasn't, but I was so excited, right? So I sat down and I put on my X12 headset. Everybody knows they saw our review, right? And I got the audio coming in. My kids are asleep because that's like the best part about, when you put the headset on, it's like, if you're a parent, you know what I mean. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna try it. Okay, so I go on there and it downloads the patch. I'm like, okay, it was released, sweet. And I get in there, it loads story mode. A bit confusing for me at first because then it says press A to join online. Okay, So I'm like, okay, so it loads story mode by default. And if I press A, it'll automatically switch. I'm used to having a menu, so that was a little confusing. But anyways, I just pressed A, started launching online, and it hit the loading session area, and it had this really cool video intro, as many of you probably know. So I went through that whole with Lamar being Lamar. And then we get to the final part where I'm supposed to race or something. I think that's what I was supposed to do. And then this screen, loading session, comes up. And I'm like, cool, it's actually going to work, right?
Yeah, and you see little guys pop in.
Yeah, and people get popular. But what's funny is like multiplayer, other players keep popping in the screen, other actual players. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to be, joining with these. That loading session never went away.
No.
And so a little bit of me died after a little bit. And it wasn't really like me dying. Like I said, it wasn't like I expected it to work. But I was just, oh, man, that kind of stinks.
Yeah, no, I was right there with you.
Right. So what I did in reaction to this was I decided to go back to single player. But unfortunately, I went back to single player, and the multiplayer had also broke my single player. And the camera was facing my guy's face.
Oh, so yours was broke right from the first try.
Yeah. Both single and multiplayer were broken.
Bummer.
So, what was yours? Your experience.
Okay, well, I went through the menu. I didn't press A. I never trust those. There's a menu that you can get to.
Right, when you
through
first
the
start.
single player.
Right.
So I did that, and I tried a couple times with them because me and my friends were going to play. And, it didn't work. I, didn't expect it to either. So I was also, I wouldn't even call it disappointed even. Because I logged in expecting it not to work. For when Red Dead came out, the friggin' DLC download you could get the first day for the collector's edition or whatever. That didn't work. There's so many people using it.
I was like, that.
Yeah, you got the undead the assassin outfit or whatever.
Right.
The deadly assassin, and that even that didn't work. So I was like, nah, there's no way really. So I guess our expectation level was realistic. But it didn't work. But then I load back it, and my single player was fine, and I continued to have a happy life.
Jerk.
Day two.
Yeah, day two. Day two. So we the outage, right? Loading session. Pretty much, I think everybody was part of that. Yay. So that's our story, and we were going to move into why. Why would you have such an outage? Not unexpected. 1 billion users.
1 billion sales.
Huh?
They sold a billion.
1 billion sales. Well, I mean, how many users are actually logging in, though? I would like
Well, they haven't sold a billion copies.
Oh, 1 billion in sales.
Yes.
Man, that's embarrassing.
And it's on the internet forever.
Forever. Okay, so 1 billion copies, you said? No, $1 billion.
Dollars.
$1 billion.
Yes.
How many copies?
I have no idea.
Enough.
A lot.
A lot of users.
But less than a billion.
But less than a billion. Okay, so it's not unexpected.
Jeez, Craig, get it right.
I'm going to try it one of these days. So I wasn't expecting it to work. It just with the technology being what it is, there's too many people who wanted to play the online content at the same time.
Which they warned us about. ahead of time.
Yes, they did, and they flat out came out and said this is going to be a problem.
Sure.
You know, and even I don't care how much money you have, you can test a network environment all day long, but you can't really do a true test of that many users unless you've actually got that many users.
Yeah.
You can prepare. You can prepare for it all day long, but you don't know until you flip the switch.
I'm pretty sure they don't, hire that many testers, as many as sales as they
You
have.
can't.
You can't.
That's so many people.
Yeah.
There's so many people. You don't know until it goes live. So their initial flood is actually kind of part of the plan.
Okay.
So it's just so okay. Now we can actually adjust the system to handle this.
Okay.
And it's not unexpected.
You might not know this, but what would cause the multiplayer to mess up your single player? Because that never happened to me.
What would?
Yeah.
A bad patch.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is that they've so tightly integrated single player to multiplayer.
Yeah.
The character transitioning, the loading, the online stats.
Yeah.
I think there's just too much carryover.
Yeah, because you
between
can
the
select your character from the character wheel even.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
I figured that was going to cause
it's just so tightly
a little bit
knit.
of trouble at least.
Yeah, it's so tightly knit into the single player experience.
Yeah.
I think that's what caused the problem. You can even invite friends on your friends list and stuff right from your single player cell phone.
Yeah, you can call them even.
Yeah.
Or send text messages.
Yeah, so I mean that is part of the reason
Yeah.
that happened, and it's pretty much unacceptable. That's what we were saying. The multiplayer thing, yeah, sure, we got that, but this whole single player issue where we had a buddy of ours also lose his save games or corrupted his save games, that's the part that really you're like, okay.
Even still, because like to work this out, I never had any problem. I actually logged into online the second day, and it's been all golden for me since. Whereas these guys had a couple of more issues, but since logging in, your single player has repaired itself.
You're talking about the last patch they made.
Yes. But you're okay.
Despite the fact that I am right now, but
Yeah.
despite the fact the single player was bad, within 2 days they had a patch.
Yeah, which is really
that
fast.
fixed it. That's not even just really fast.
For
That's
both
like
PlayStation and
for
Xbox.
PS. Yeah, and that's actually phenomenal
It is.
from a developer standpoint.
Remember Skyrim,
And to actually
folks?
and to actually have it work.
Skyrim, that one had a bug that disabled your armor and your elemental resistance.
Oh yeah, that sucked.
So like
Remember
a
that.
frost dragon would come and blow frost at you, and you had no resistance or armor, so you just died. You just dropped dead immediately, and it rendered that unplayable for 2 weeks. I think it was.
Absolutely, yeah, it did.
So
So 2 days is
2
phenomenal.
days is really good.
And especially since it actually fixed a lot of my single player issues, as you know, and
Well,
it fixed my multiplayer. But
Our friend,
still
single player, still corrupted.
Still corrupted. Sorry, Andy. We're with you, Chippy. So the one thing they did do through all this was they handled this crisis quite well with all the negative feedback they were getting from fans, and they basically apologized.
Yeah. So you think this was handled pretty well on
I think it was handled brilliantly. It's going to
I
be
think it
just
was
a
handled
minor
well.
blip in the history of...
And it is frustrating. I mean, I know it's frustrating, but I do think it was handled well.
Yeah, it was just a minor blip in the otherwise glorious, I think,
Yeah,
longevity of the
I think-
GTA 5 franchise. And you were mentioning something very awesome about the end of this generation of systems, and I'd like you to share with the audience what that was, and I think I couldn't agree more.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that GTA 5 is probably the peak of this generation, or at least the closing note of it. I just don't see anything coming out after this that will be as spectacular, as good. I mean, this is kind of like the last one. I mean, we've had some other games before, like Last of Us, which I haven't played, but I would like to, and things like that have come up. And I see this one, GTA 5, is like the closing note. This is the last big one. And then the next generation will have the better versions of games that are coming out on both. So I think this is pretty much the last.
It's time to exit the stage,
Yeah,
and it's a great way to go out.
it is.
I agree.
Yeah,
360.
just hang in there, people.
That's right. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
See you online.
And let us know if you're still having problems.
Yeah, that's a good point. And leave your
Yeah.
experience in the comment below. We'd like to know what yours was, whether you were okay with it, and whether you're still okay with it, because I know there's still problems they're working out.
Yeah.
But we always like your comments and your feedback on these things, so make sure you give it to us, and subscribe on our YouTube channel as well, and make sure you stay tuned for the next episode of the Craig and Chris Show.
It'll be great.
It will be.